Namaste and in la catch, and welcome to this episode of One World in a New World. I'm your host, Zen Benefiel, and this week's guest is a really dynamic woman. Her name is Anja Zibert, and she has, we'll start with the human design. She's a 3-5 generator, according to it. If you're not familiar with that, there'll be a link down below. You can check it out for yourself. She is the global HR disruptor for the human design AI company. She's also an activist, which means, I'll put it simply, she's a founding member of the Octopus Movement, which is how we met initially. The Octopus Movement is about nonlinear thinkers and providing a safe place for them to gather and converse about how to create a better world together. She also is a disruptor with authenticity. She is a soul compass pilot, which is a device that helps you determine where your flow is and how to better activate it and be in it. And what she says, I find really interesting on her profile. She says, my journey has taken me from being a headhunter in a corporate recruitment agency, that's a headache and a half, to a heart hunter in my own company. It's not just about filling positions, it's about connecting souls. And that's really what we all need to be about. Anja, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure. Thank you for invitation. Thanks, Anne.
Oh, you're very welcome. And I know that in my previous discussions with you, you're a very deep soul, wise and understanding, and this had to have happened. My guests often have an experience of an inner connection, depending on whether it's young, midlife, even just prior to or during COVID, sometimes they've happened. So when did yours begin, and how did that experience, what was it like, first of all? What do you remember from it, and what was happening around you at the time?
Yeah, very interesting question. When I think about my professional career or like my purpose now, I always go back to 2005 when I heard this voice, free spirit, in my head. And that kind of, started this journey. But if I look at even,
let's look at that for just a second. If I may interrupt, and I will.
Yeah.
Free spirit, the voice. Where did it come from? How did you recognize it? What did it feel like when you heard it?
Yeah. Interesting question, because I don't really remember how I felt. It was probably really weird, because in 2005, I was nowhere near spiritual awakening.
Mm-hmm.
I was nowhere near this awareness that I have today, or that I, got years later. I was like, it was just a random evening where I was next to my computer, my laptop. I was going through some personal stuff. I just moved to England. I was with this boyfriend of mine. We lived together. We had some issues, and I just went, yeah, that was probably the story, because I was a month ago, before, I started living there. I found myself in this very, very interesting situation when I was selling books door to door in England. So that was the reason why I went to England, because this company was recruiting students to go work in England for a summer job, and I wasn't really aware what I'm getting myself into, and I just ended up as door-to-door
sales by chance.
It was insane, because the thing was, for 1 week there was a training going on. Training. So every morning they picked us up and they took us to this warehouse, and they were I can say, like, they were like brainwashing, like us. We had this script, what we supposed to say.
Here's the way we do it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
This is the way you will do it.
Exactly. It was like that. And, you know, you had a script and you had all like the simulations, you know, and this artificial doors or whatever. So how you open the door, how you have to lean in, how you have to put doors, you know, between the feet so they cannot
Wow.
close the door and stuff like that. And
It
after
sounds
a
like
week,
NLP on steroids, right?
it was really, really crazy in a way, because the
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
was, after a week I was, you know, looking at these people, they were like all pumped, yeah, let's go out, let's earn some money, da, da, da. And I was like, what the hell just happened? I'm not even close, like nothing stayed in me, nothing, absolutely nothing, because it was so against my nature that I was like, how can I go out? Because I have no idea what to do. And I went out, you know, I did it anyway, but it was so difficult, because every time somebody opened the door when I knocked, I could feel their energy. I could feel their anger, or, you know, I don't know, like this really negative vibes. And it was, I don't know. It was very like, it was very painful. I
Yeah.
felt physical pain, but and also I think that that was probably the first time in my life that I was in depression, you know, that I felt depressed, because I didn't know what was going on. And I was like, you know, my mom and my dad, I was like, yeah, you know, our daughter is in England, she's doing this summer job. And I was like battling for my life, because I didn't earn any money. I didn't have money for food. I didn't have nothing, because we were paid on, you know, how do you say,
Commission.
provision, like, yeah, exactly, commission. And we didn't get paid at all. So it was pretty difficult. So after a month or something, I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm going back to Bristol, where we first started, where we had those training, and I met some people there, and I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna go there, and I'm gonna, you know, try to earn some money, try to have fun, like, you know, during the summer. And then at the end of the summer, I'm gonna go back to those people that I sold that books, that they gave me some deposits, but like very, very low money. And then, you know, I will finish what I started, like the job. Yeah, because
Right.
it was like that. They paid you some deposit, you took their order, and then at the end of the summer, you brought them the books. Yeah. So basically, after that experience, I really, you know, I thought that something is wrong with me, really, because I don't know, either like something is wrong, like mentally, like I'm so sensitive, or I don't know. I really didn't understand. But one evening, I was sitting behind my desk on laptop, and I was editing MySpace profile. MySpace was
I remember
social
Tom.
network. Yeah, exactly, Tom. Everybody had to
Yeah.
first
Right.
and it was super cool, you know. And I was editing my MySpace. I was like, okay, what should be my username? And this voice came into my head, like, Anja, you are free spirit. You are free spirit. It's like, okay, free spirit. Let's, you know, that's cool. You know, that's a good idea. And I put it free spirit. So I was free spirit everywhere. Yeah, Anja, free spirit. Everybody knew me, but I had absolutely no idea what that really meant. Yeah, I was like, yeah,
Right.
I'm a
That's
rebel.
where the
You know,
voice
I'm like,
came from. Now, something that I find interesting, right? I think we all hear this voice from time to time. Most of us either second guess it or totally dismiss it immediately as some extraneous random thought that we don't need, don't want, and really don't care about.
yeah,
And yet, as you develop in your own self-awareness, you begin to realize, oh, it's those subtle things that make the biggest difference, the little details that you pay attention to, or those subtle impressions that you get, like the voice, that when you begin to pay attention to it, it's like a whole new world begins to unfold, right? Was that your experience as you began to unfold in you know, asking more questions of where that come from and what's it all about and how does it fit? How do
yeah,
I fit?
absolutely.
Right?
I mean, that's at that time I wasn't really asking any questions.
Hmm.
Even like years later, I started asking questions, because I kind of, you know, started this spiritual awakening journey. But
Right?
that was like years later. But in between, there were, I call it like breadcrumbs. Yeah, when you like look behind, and then you see like the path that you were walking, like you were leaving those breadcrumbs, and now at that time they didn't make any sense. Now, so much sense. Yeah, so they were
You
like
wouldn't
this
be who you are
episodes.
without them, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So, when I look back now, I see so many things happen that are really connected to what I am today, and what I'm doing today, and how I'm, thinking today. But I was doing really everything what I was doing, it was really unconsciously. So basically, I wasn't aware of spirituality. I wasn't aware of personal growth. I wasn't even asking this kind of question, because I was living in this, I have to have a job. Yeah. I have to have money to pay bills. I have to have a partner. I have to have a house. Then I became a mom. But it was all like what I should do. What I should do. I was always, yeah, free spirit. I was always free spirit. I always had my own mind. But when you were adjusting to that framework, you were battling the battle. So for example, when I was working in a corporate recruitment agency, I got this framework, what is allowed and what is not, and how I should do my job. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. So basically, in the framework, I found my own way. And I was breaking records. I was crushing KPIs and everything, but it was inside
But
this
you were doing it your own
framework,
way. You
which
had the
was
framework.
but it was so difficult. Like it was very, very difficult for me, because of this inner battle. Because I was doing it like in secretly, yeah. So basically, in one
Well,
way,
let's look at it, if we may, let's look at where that battle is or
yeah,
was,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Battle
exactly.
wasn't with you. The
No,
battle with what was with the outer projections of what you thought you should be.
exactly.
That
Yeah,
situation. I've
yeah,
had similar when I was in my mid to late 20s. I worked for an aerospace or in the aerospace industry. Started out as a machinist and ended up in production control, which is the department that's in charge of everything and how everything operates, right?
yeah.
I had, interestingly enough, I had accelerated promotional program, if you will. I went from being a swing shift expediter to a day shift job responsible for $7 million in shipments a month, 800 part numbers. And
Wow.
I was at goal or above every month, had a great time. I was having fun, really enjoyed what I was doing. Other people liked me and would do things for me that wouldn't necessarily get done otherwise, just because of the personal relationships that I had. And about 6 or maybe 8 months in, 2 supervisors show up at my cubicle. And of course, I'm thinking, oh my God, what did I do? Right? Not one, but 2. And I'm like, no, because they could see the look on my face. They said, we want to know what you're doing. I said, why? He says, you're at the top of the production. 35 people. I'm the youngest and newest in the department. And like, what are you doing? I said, I just treat people how I want to be treated. So it's interpersonal skills classes, or interpersonal skills, I guess, would be the answer. And so over the next 2.5 years, I pushed for having interpersonal skills classes in the department. Brought in a consultant, or was asked, brought in one, and then I got demoted in the same week that my divorce was final. So it's like, okay, I get the message. Don't rock the boat so much, and I'm a company guy. When you, and as I'm sure you were too, you want to do the best you can do given the mission you have.
Yeah.
Right? Even if the parameters that you're given as to how to do it don't necessarily fit your particular personality. You adjusted, you found a way to make it yours.
Yeah.
And then you showed yourself by the results you got, as well as your superiors, that, hey, maybe there's something to this. And perhaps we ought to look at how we're doing business and maybe change a little bit, which is eventually what happened. A year and a half after I left the company, I ran into the purchasing department secretary, whose office or desk was right outside my cubicle as well. And she said, "You'll never guess what happened." I'm like, "What?" She goes, "They just instituted interpersonal skills classes, plant-wide." So here was roughly a 4-year process.
Amazing.
It got done. I wasn't there to see the results. However, rarely are we, right? We go in, we stir the pot and fire starters, and then we move on. And
Yeah.
just as you did.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit different with me because I had to explain myself all the time. Like the environment wasn't really, like this change friendly.
Right.
So basically, I was,
Yeah, headhunters, that's a ruthless.
it kind of was, but it was from 2016. So in 2016, I started. In 2017, I got my first past life regression. And after that experience, oh my God, that was so surreal.
I want to
When
find out
people
more
were,
about that.
yeah,
Before we do, though, I want to go back and, there's this, as you mentioned, the breadcrumbs, right?
yeah,
You're looking back and essentially harvesting your past. Because I didn't hear you have any twinges of regret or any of those kinds of disconnected feelings from it. You actually saw how it got you where you were or are, and then accepted that as part of the process and a wonderful part of us. Now, I see that as harvesting the past. We tend
today,
to look
yeah,
back and
yeah,
regret and or take those regrets and project them into the future so that we don't experience that, instead of, okay, now what was this like? And just taking having an observational view,
yeah,
a non-emotional view of
exactly. Yeah,
those
I
points of
think
so
that's,
more. Go ahead.
yeah, that's super important when you come to a point when you look back and it's like no regrets. It's just like I did what I could do, with the knowledge that I had at that point.
Right.
And
No
yeah,
mistakes.
yeah,
Everything is just a stepping
exactly.
stone in the learning of your life.
Exactly. Exactly. And also when you come to realization that your emotions are your responsibility,
Hmm.
no matter what. And I was always, most of my time, like most of my life, I felt like a victim. I was in a victim mode because I was different. I was always different. I was
I
always the
think many
stubborn
do,
one,
right? We don't know how
the
to
black
deal
sheep
with
of the
our boundaries.
family. Yeah. So, but yeah, I always felt like something, yeah, that, yeah, that it's not fair, it's not fair that this is it, this is like that. But then when you start thinking, like when you get this realization and, who am I and why am I here? And, like everything would, like when you look back, it's like sometimes I feel that was not my life, because I'm completely different person
Sure.
now. So it's like,
Right.
whose life was that? Like, I cannot even believe that I went through that, for example, like all the past experiences or something, because there's no emotional attachment to those events anymore. Like, do
Sure.
you understand what I'm saying?
Oh,
Like,
absolutely. And I'll take
yeah,
it to this conclusion, right? Not only did you change that you don't feel emotionally, intellectually, mentally your
yeah,
body
yeah,
physically, our cells change completely
yes,
every 7
yes,
years or something like that, right? So when you take what Bruce Lipton and others like him are saying, you can change your cellular memory in process by adjusting how you see things.
yes.
The
And
memories are still
I'm
there. It's how you interpret
living proof
them.
for that.
Right.
Yeah,
Awesome. So
absolutely.
back to your past life. What was that like? And You know, because a lot of
Just
people we hear, you know, past lives, reincarnation, Akashic records, all that kind of stuff, and especially engineers and people that are really, you know, left brain, the analytic
mm,
science kind of folks, they hear that and they go, yeah, I don't know, right? Because they don't have any direct experience of
yeah,
it, and oftentimes will not allow themselves to have a direct experience because of their predisposition to judge it. Now, with
yeah.
you, totally different. You went in open mind. What was it like?
Wow, that was really, I mean, it was really profound experience. It was, Michael Newton, the past life regression. So it's he was, yeah, he
There's only
still
four and a
has.
half billion people here. You know, I don't know all of them yet.
Okay, anyway, I mean, I don't know, like this person, I don't know if he's still alive. But the thing is, like, there's a school, yeah, for past life regression, like the soul of the journey. I mean, he wrote a lot of books around it because it's like it's
Mhm.
really really famous, and so it was based on this practice. I was aware of everything around me, yeah, but the how do you say, like, this past life regression mentor, or what is the person, trainer or whatever, like
Regressionist.
he, yeah, regressionist, okay, perfect. So he guided me first to my childhood, then to the womb, and then it was, yeah, it was really interesting feeling, because it's like I was feeling that I'm going deeper and deeper, and at some point, um, for example, if somebody says, okay, a dog, yeah, and you know what that, when you think about the dog, you know what a dog is. You know that the dog is an animal, that
Unless you're
barks, that has.
dyslexic and you think it's God.
Okay, but for example, a dog or a cat or whatever. But the point is, when he said something, and my mind didn't recognize that word anymore,
Yeah.
yeah, it was like that. Then I felt that my mind is not in charge anymore.
Mhm.
So then I just let go, and then it was like, like this tunnel or light or whatever. And it's like, and he just said to me, okay, now are you on the other side? And I was like, yeah, probably. But I was like, I don't know, I did something with my hand, because when I was listening to the recording, I was showing a lot of signs, and I was not really having like this long conversation, just question. I was answering question, very short ones.
Right.
So when he asked me, like, where are you, yeah, just look down and tell me, where are you? And I looked down, and I saw myself, like, I was wearing these sandals, and it was a very yeah, it was like a very like dark soil as well. And I was looking around, and I saw this horse. So basically, and also my dress, and I was an Indian one, like Native American woman, yeah.
Mhm.
And it was, some of the images are still, very confusing. Like, I didn't really understand at that point. But in that life, I was a woman, very, very beautiful woman, very beautiful Native American woman. And also, I had two children. I was around 20 years old, and I had a husband, but there was no love between us. He was just, like, there, like, hunting, or it was arranged marriage or something, I don't know. Like, there was absolutely no love. So
Mhm.
all I got were my children. And everything what I did, I did for my children. Like, all my soul was, dedicated to my children, and they were like young children, boy and a girl. And then the regressionist asked me, now go forward to the day that you die, yeah. And I was like, okay. And suddenly I was around 40 years old, and I was standing on a cliff. And it's like, what is going on in your head? What are you thinking? I was like, yeah, my children grew up and they don't need me anymore. So I have no purpose to live anymore.
Mhm.
And I don't want to live anymore. So I jumped. That was so surreal. And I didn't feel anything because I probably popped out of the body, because like when he was like, is it done already? And I was
Right.
like, yes. So what do you see? And I just looked down and I saw my body laying there. I didn't feel anything. I was up. It was like, so he was like, so how do you look like? And I was like, I'm this sparkling balls of energy, or, something like up in the air. And when he asked me, how do you feel? I just said, I'm so happy to go back home. And I think like at that moment, every time when I remembered after the regression, when I remembered that sentence, you cannot go back into your previous life when you know that.
Absolutely. And the other thing that it makes available, I've always felt mine's like a computer, right? It stores everything. And the analogy is perfect because we got files, right? And
Yeah,
we got folders and folders of files and files. Now that file, you have the sensation, the memory, the ability to call it up whenever you want and use that sensation of feeling connected, right?
yeah,
Home
yeah,
at any moment. So part of what that allowed you to do, from what I'm hearing you say, is that it allowed you to reference that on a go forward basis. And
yeah,
that actually helped you to move along your own path, which I think many are able to do that. They just don't know, I often call it psychospiritual technologies, right? In order to
yeah.
be able to do those kinds of things. And they're really pretty simple. It's just a discipline that you've got to have to do it. Now, coming out of that, speaking of discipline, what did you notice in the changes in your own discipline?
Cool. A lot, because one other thing was that I also went through this life between lives. So
Mhm.
it's a period, when you go to the other side and then you are in between. So you get this life review and everything. And yeah, I was told that was actually really, really powerful, because at that time, like all my life, I lived in a way, oh, I'm here to make people happy. Yeah. I want to make people happy. I want to make people happy. But I didn't think about me. I was just giving. I was just giving. I have to make people happy. I don't know if I'm happy, but when I see somebody that I made somebody happy, then that my life is really, really is complete. But and
That's
I'm
actually a
fulfilled.
little more ego than you realize, though, right?
Exactly, exactly. But the thing is that when they told me, I was told that, okay, Anja, this is not sustainable. Yeah. You have to focus on yourself. You have to focus on yourself, because if you will not focus on yourself, um, yeah, nothing good's gonna happen, because you cannot influence people that they can, that they should be happy or can be happy or whatever. Like, first you have to put focus on yourself and you radiate, like, whatever you are feeling, like happiness or whatever, and they can decide.
And then you share that happiness because you are
Exactly,
it, and they will automatically pick it up and most often
exactly.
reflect it.
That was complete game changer for me, because I never saw from this perspective. I never understood that. We were always taught, hey, be a good girl, you have to obey, you have to do whatever they tell you, you have to be kind, you have to be nice, you have to make people happy, and yeah, I was living by these rules.
Right.
And when I
And it's
got that
more so you're living by
message,
prescriptive rules rather
yeah,
than the voluntary ones of which you choose to participate in, which are self-love driven.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And you know what? Then, like a lot of people, and I also didn't know what that means. Self-love? What
Hmm.
the hell is self-love?
It
Like
often
what? Like,
sounds
yeah,
very
I like
selfish, doesn't
myself,
it?
I
Right?
like myself, or whatever.
Yeah.
Self-love is like the foundation of everything,
Mhm.
everything. So that was kind of the first message that I got, up there or wherever. So, and it changed absolutely everything, because I was like, okay, for 32 years or 34, or well, how old I was, but it was like, I lived like this, and now you're telling me that this is not okay? Like, if you take this away from me, who am I? You know? Like, for example, when somebody is working in one company, um, as a sales manager or director or whatever, and then like he's really or she's really identifying with that title,
Yeah,
and
right. That's who they
everything
are.
is
What
based.
they do is who they are.
Exactly. So when you take that away from them, they are completely lost, because they don't know who they are. So
Mhm.
that was for me as well, like I didn't know who I was. So after that experience, that was really difficult, because everything started collapsing. Everything like was, you know, falling apart. Everything. Because
I
I
heard
switched
it
my
say,
perspective and
who was it? I don't remember who it was that said it, but a breakthrough is actually a series of breakdowns.
oh yes. Oh, absolutely. But for example, today when I'm talking that to people, yeah, when I'm like people who are going through spiritual awakening, or they are like starting to ask like questions,
Mhm.
or questioning themselves, like, who am I, I want to know more, or stuff like that. I was like, a lot of things will change, like a lot of things. It's really, really important that you face your shadows. It's really important that you start discovering like all these layers. But you have to know something: you are not alone. You are never alone. You may feel lonely and it will be difficult, but you are never alone. So when I
Great.
was going through my journey, I felt alone. I felt like it was, and I know that a lot of people,
We all do.
yeah. And
All do.
today, I think because we are really raising consciousness, and we are really connected. I mean, it's absolutely incredible, especially in last 2 years, I think, how we are connecting.
I was just going to go there. Thank you for picking that up without me having to say a word. In the advent of this catastrophic event that we call many names, of which shall remain nameless for this purpose.
Andy.
Don't want to label it, right? When it was going on, and with this new view that you had, what did you see? Did you witness people going into the really fear-based, just a negative spiral, or did you see them asking more? With the obsession on self-hygiene and self-castration, it gave people an opportunity to pause, reflect, dive inside, and ask questions like you were talking about. Who am I?
Mm-hmm.
Here to do?
Mm,
What do I believe in? Who do I believe in? What am I willing to do about that? And how do I
mm.
want to live? And then we go back to, okay, it's all over now, and we're going back to normal. And that
You
normal
cannot.
no longer available.
No. Yeah.
Did you see those things? How did you? I'm sure you saw both, as most of us have, that are looking
Yes.
anyway.
Yeah.
What do you notice as far as what's happening as a result of that period?
Um, yeah. I mean, a lot of people lost a lot of stuff. Yeah. Lost, like because they, I don't know, when first, like with first step that you make towards your inner world,
Mm-hmm.
every step towards your inner world has consequence. And that consequence is like outside of you, in your world, things will start shifting. Like people will start disappearing, things will start crumbling
Like a
or whatever.
cleanup
Because
crew, right?
yes, exactly, because it's making space for new stuff. But when that's happening, you don't know.
You're like,
you
wait,
don't
wait,
see
come
it like
back,
that.
come back.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, that was such a powerful period, because I was thinking the other day about that, because I saw, at the beginning, it was more fear-based, and we were following because we didn't know what the hell is going on. But then, more people were spending more time with themselves, yeah, like isolated. And it was like, why? Yeah. After
Right.
a while, at first it was, yeah, okay, we have to do this, yeah. But then after a while, it was like, why? And when you ask that why, that's a ripple effect.
Many answers come from that. My wife and I were really fortunate. She's from St. Petersburg, Russia. I'm from a small town in Indiana. Both of us are kind of rebels. We did not change. We got married in 2017, but lived together for a year prior to that. We're together 24/7. So we didn't need to sequester. We were already
Mm,
sequestering because both of us worked out of the house. She's a piano teacher. I'm a coach and facilitator, and most of my and web designer and builder at that point. So our work was pretty much in-house or remote, and both of our businesses increased.
wow.
Never wore masks.
Wow.
We
Yeah.
never, I went out and did all the shopping, and I was refused entrance at one grocery store because I wouldn't put a mask on. I was okay with that. Their loss of my money, right? So this was just flying in the face of reason that everybody else was saying, hey, you got to do this, you got to know, you can't do that, you can't. Why?
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to live my life as I normally live it. I don't care what you say I need to do.
Yeah.
You cannot tell me how to live me.
Mm,
And that's what you found. This is what most of us find. We do us, right? You do you, I do me, and we find a way to dance together as a result. It just
yes.
happens naturally.
When you are on the same vibrational frequency level,
Or even close, right? Sometimes
even
even
close. Yeah.
not. I'd go into the store, even with people with masks, right? And I'd look around, and
Yeah.
of course, I'd see them, and I would make comments. I love to engage people in public,
Mhm.
right, and have
Yeah.
fun and just do wacky, weird shit, right? And
You
just
should have these videos, like viral videos on TikTok and stuff like that.
looking back, I never do that. That's something else I got to think about.
Yeah.
Right? So when I'm in the moment, it's the moment. And yet these folks would just have a blast. You see the corners of their eyes turn up, and you could see their face move up, and
Amazing.
you couldn't see the
Amazing. Yeah.
smile underneath the mask. However, their facial expressions obviously change. So, being able to do that is, I think, just a gift. And why not? Right?
Yeah.
Just be who you are. And when you're that free, as I'm sure you are, maybe not to the degree I am, because I'm really extroverted in public. We have fun. Isn't
Yeah.
life about having fun, to spread joy and to share in the abundance that is available if we just accept that it's there and welcome
No,
it instead of resist
absolutely. Now
it?
I see it like that. Yeah. Now I see it like that. Absolutely.
So in your years of resistance, what were some of the things that you thought then that you became aware of that was stinking thinking later?
Okay. Can you repeat that? That for what?
Yes.
Stinking thinking.
So, right, the stinking think is how we ask for stuff, we pray for
Hmm.
stuff, and it shows up, and we stiff arm it because we're not aware that of it showing up. And those are thoughts that we have, those are perceptions and beliefs
Hmm.
we carry. What did you find were yours that you overcame in order to be able to be that receptor?
Yeah. Definitely setting boundaries. I had to learn how to set boundaries, how to say no. And also, I was a huge people pleaser. like I said, like making people happy and stuff. So that's why I was really attracting a lot of also, in partnership, like
And
men.
unfortunately, our global society is set up as a codependent realm
Yeah,
currently.
exactly. Yeah. So, and also, one of my biggest challenges, um, in this life in general, I can say, but I can proudly say now that I was working a lot on that issue, but emotions, and feeling, and I'm not going to say resentment, but like we are taught that we were taught that if something bad happens, yeah, you remove, and it's like, yeah, you just go on with your life, and you like just don't deal with it. Like if that person or that situation is not a part of your life anymore, you like you don't have to focus on it. Just go forward, go
Yeah, you
forward.
don't need to
Nobody.
cut off your hand just because you broke a finger.
Yeah, but still, like nobody taught us, that we should pause and we should process.
Hmm.
Yeah. And this processing, um, I did it now, yeah, when I'm 40. So like for 20 years, even, before, or like stuff that happened. And also, for example, my relationship with my parents, because I'm the only child, and it was very, I'm not gonna say complicated, but I was a rebel,
Hmm.
but I was
And being the
always,
only child, probably spoiled.
no, not really,
No,
not really. No,
but loved
no,
it
I was
nonetheless.
never, yeah, I was asked a lot of, yeah, a lot of time I was asked this question, but when I was thinking, and I was actually asking my mom, like, was I spoiled? And she's like, no, you were not spoiled. Like at some point, you're like,
Well, it's good you don't know whether you were or not. You have to ask.
yeah,
So
but
that
I
would be an
didn't even know
indication
what
that
that
you
means,
probably weren't.
like spoiled, because we weren't like, we didn't have a lot of money or something. And I didn't really wanted a lot of stuff. I was really, I don't know, I was spending a lot of time in nature and yeah, stuff like
Been
that. Like,
alone. Yeah, it's
yeah, I spent a lot of time alone also. Yeah. But also with my cousins or whatever, when we were playing, but it was more like, mm, I saw things differently. And when I didn't want to accept the way, that somebody is convincing me, no, you have to, like, for example, I saw, I don't know, dark white, and they were like, no, this is gray, yeah, or something like that. And they were like, yeah, convincing me, you have to see it like that because you're wrong. You have to see it like that. You have to see it like that. You have to see it like that. I was like, no, I mean, I respect your opinion, but I see it differently. And there was this battle all the time. So that's why I was always, oh, you are the worst, you are the complicator, you are this and this and this. But all I want is like, how, like, why don't you let me have my own opinion? Yeah, this was my challenge. So when I learned that my opinion is my right,
mhm.
and no matter what other people think, my opinion for me is the most important thing.
It's your
And
truth.
it's my truth, but it shouldn't be like, it doesn't have to be truth for other people. Yeah.
No,
So
no,
that's the thing,
your
it's
truth.
only
This is
mine.
what, the individual specific. This is what, we're talking about the Vedantic philosophy and being
Yeah.
divine threads from the unit of consciousness incarnate, depending on which life it is, doesn't matter, capable of having God consciousness. Well, what's that mean? Right? That means you're aware of your connection, first off, and you grow in that just as you would normally as a human being in your own adolescence to maturity.
Mm.
Right? It's still a process. We don't automatically leap into that I'm the creator of all place. It's hard enough just to be the creator of your own life.
On
And
your
you
life.
are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where it leads you to understand is that you are the creator of your own life, individually specific.
Exactly. My own reality,
Yeah.
my own reality. So
Now we can share
yeah, it's,
that, right? And this
yeah.
is what this conversation, right? We're conversing primarily because we're available and willing. And it's a result of what we were talking about earlier, coming out of that challenging period and saying, oh, okay, wait a minute, there's conversations that aren't happening that need to. And this is
Yeah.
expressing those inner dives and the inner experiences. We're bereft of having conversations about them so that we can find some kind of shared reality that
Mm-hmm.
we can dance better in. You know, sometimes we may need to change the tune, maybe even need to change the dance floor. Still, it's that opportunity to have that inner life become more present in the outer world as we talk about it and demonstrate that no, we're not crazy. We're all going through this. It's just that there's been this old belief system that anybody that talks like this is crazy and needs to be institutionalized, right? That's the way it used to be.
Yeah, yeah. I
That happened to
I can
me
imagine.
when I was younger. So I know that is possible. Today, not so much because of that openness and acceptance that, oh yeah, that's just a woo-woo. You know, there's at least a willingness to consider it. There's still the projection of, yeah, you're out there and I don't want to talk to you, mostly because that person has not discovered themselves yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there's a
And
bunch of us that have, though. And how are we learning to communicate? You know, Perry put together the octopus movement.
mm,
Mark Victor put together the Live and Let Live global peace movement. David Hodgson started the global collab, or the global regenerative collab, you know, all during this time. Would those be indicators that maybe something more is afoot and we're just beginning to find our footing in that?
absolutely, absolutely. Mm, I wanted to just tell you before I started, yeah, as well, when I was in recruitment company, after my past life regression, it was probably like 2, 3 weeks after that. You know, people were coming to me for an interview. Because I was the one who was doing interviews, you know, to place them to companies and stuff
Oh,
like
that would
that.
definitely shift your perspective in interviews.
Yeah, but not only that, Zen, like there were people inside. We were in this small, like, you know, office, and I was sitting there, and people came in, like, you know, one by one. So basically, there was this guy, and it was on the other side of the table, and he was looking at me. And you know, I just started asking him like this random questions. Yeah, so you know, okay, you were doing this and this and this, and he suddenly like, wow, you brought a lot of energy to this world. Are you aware of that? You know, I've been told that I have to pass this message to you, and you are this and this and this. And I was like, what the hell is going on?
That's a
And
random generator, huh?
that was really super weird at that time, but it was not the only one. Like stuff like that started happening to me, and they were like just this random people that they were passing on messages, and I was like, okay. But you know, then when I started expanding my awareness, and I was like, I was not like, okay, this is not possible. I was, okay, I don't know what's happening, but I leave it open. Yeah. I
Well,
don't know.
and it's
I don't know. It's
nonlinear,
just
you know, like the octopus,
exactly.
the nonlinear thinkers. Life is nonlinear, right?
Exactly. You
And
don't, you cannot,
sometimes
yeah,
it's non-local.
exactly. Yeah. And it was not local. I mean, so many, crazy. Like at that time, it was like, what? But like I said, you know, on this journey, and when I really was learning, and this is like my mantra now, you know, life is a playground, and I see everything as a game. And we are here, you know, like we are exchanging these toys, and we are playing, and we are learning, and we are empowering each other.
And
But
enjoying that, I think that's the
and
most important
enjoying,
point.
yes,
You
yes,
enjoy what's
exactly,
happening, even though it may not seem to the outer world like it's all, you
yes,
know, fun and fancy.
yes,
Even in
yes,
those tumultuous moments, there's excitement because they're the beginning of change.
yes,
And when you begin to see those patterns in your own life, you know, conflict, chaos, oh, change is about ready to happen, right? Then
Oh
you,
my God, yeah. With this awareness, you have like you have gold in your hand.
Mhm.
Yeah. With this awareness. Seriously. Like it can save you so much suffering. And you can really create a lot of ripple effect with this awareness, you know, when you are dealing with challenges or whatever, but you are also inspiring people how they can deal with challenges.
Right. And
um
how do you do that, right? Part
yeah,
is just you showing up. What about the
yeah.
questions that we're able to ask, you know, to get others to think differently in the moment?
Mm,
One of these things, when you introduce a question, is like, oh, I never thought about it that way.
yeah. For example, human design, yeah, like we
Yeah.
started with human design as well. um that gave me so much clarity because I'm a 3-5. Yeah, that means life experimenter. That means that my life is based on trial and error. My life is based on trial and error. So I failed so many times, so many times. You cannot like, and a lot of people like, okay, she's a loser, you know, like she's a failure, like she's never gonna make it. And when
And
I
that's the word that many people use, failure, mistakes. Um,
exactly.
and because, as you said, this is all trial and error. Life is trial and error. You try something, you give it up. You know, it's, somebody said years ago, perfect love has no fear in it. And, you know, Susan Brown and I were talking the other day about the founder of Token of Me. I had mentioned, you know, years ago, somebody asked me what my superpower was, and I said vulnerability, right out, you know. And then Susan said something the other day, that vulnerability still has a little bit of doubt, right? And trust
Yeah.
is the other side of vulnerability. And when you can activate that in yourself, how did you find this element of trust in yourself, and how did the increments take place? Because I know it wasn't all just, you know, one foul swoop. Oh yeah,
Hmm.
trust myself.
Yeah, yeah.
It's incremental.
Well, yeah, I mean, when I think about it, like after, you know, like when I founded my own company, so it was in 2020, after I got fired from my last job because of, you know, that period that we're not gonna mention. But in 2020, I started my own company, Free Spirit Human Capital. And then it was, yeah, changes just started happening. So my relationship fell apart. I moved out of this dream house that we bought a while ago, and I found myself in situation then without nothing, nothing, no money, no home, no relationship, no job. I mean, I had my own company, but I wasn't really, you know, like
Wow.
earning money and stuff.
What
So
a what a
the thing
precious
was,
opportunity.
yes, I wasn't thinking about this, you know, like I was on my
Oh yeah, you were
journey,
in the
but
midst
still.
of despair at that point, I'm sure.
But you know what was really, really
Sure.
powerful at that
Yeah.
point? When I got myself out of it, I was and I am fearless for that kind of stuff. Yeah. Like I'm not afraid of losing, I don't know, a roof over my head
Right.
because I already did that. You know, like I know that I can, like, if I did that or like my car or whatever, I know that I can get a, you know, new one.
Sure.
I did it one more time. I can do it again. So
There's an
I'm
old
not
saying, we can
I'm not
always begin again.
yes, but the thing is like I don't feel so much fear, yeah, of losing my life in that way. So ego death, yeah? Like if
Right.
we define this like ego death, I know that I don't know what's gonna happen, but I'm not afraid of ego death anymore. And that I got from that situation. And when I find myself, you know, in this situation, where I was like, I just think about, okay, first of all, I know that I'm a 3-5 generator. So that means every time when I fall and every time I get back up, I have more wisdom. I'm stronger. I'm more
It's a spiral, not a
resilient.
whirlpool.
And I'm more resilient, but I also, like everything what I'm doing is really heart-centered. Everything is based on heart energy. Everything is based on love now with me. So I'm fighting the system with love. I'm fighting everything or everyone who they are attacking me or whatever with love, with heart energy. And this is my path now. So yeah.
So back to those
Oh my goodness.
incremental stages that you went through in order to help
Yeah.
others maybe identify what they're going through. And yeah, you lost things, you ended with nothing, which gave you the perfect opportunity to begin again. And that is true. We can always begin again. That's the thing we forget.
It's not easy, Zen. It's definitely not easy. And
Oh,
I'm
it's,
still, building like
is it?
everything. Yeah.
Right? Is that not? And I felt that way. And then
Mm-hmm.
I realized, it's actually really simple and it is easy. It's just the discipline to maintain that awareness
That's true.
because
Yeah.
others will tell you it isn't.
Yeah.
Because that's the
That
first
is true.
defense. Oh, it's
Yeah.
so hard. Man, I don't want to do it. I'm so, well, no, you're just lazy, dude.
So sometimes I feel, and I can honestly say that, like my spirit is strong and my mindset, yeah, sometimes I still have challenges. Like, I'm like, hey, shut up, like my heart is in charge now. But it's more about this physical physical exhaustion sometimes. Like I find myself, I'm like tired tired in a physical way because when you go, like I'm never alone, because I know that I'm never alone. Like I have my tribe around me. I have, non-physical world around me and stuff. But it's like the body, our vehicle, yeah. It needs to recharge. It
It
needs
needs
to recharge.
community. It needs community. We're
Yeah.
designed to be communal beings. And
Yeah.
if we don't have that, we get fatigued. These conversations, even though, we're thousands of miles apart, these
Yeah.
are tremendously energizing because we're having some interactivity.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's 11 p.m. here, so I'm not even nearly, sleepy or whatever. But I'm just trying to be honest about it. Like this transformation, I mean, in my case, it wasn't overnight. Yeah, now little things are happening, and I know I can feel it in my heart, in my gut. That something huge is coming. I don't know what, but
Hmm?
in a collective level,
And
I'm
there's
like I can feel it.
anticipation with a kind of joyful giddiness as
Yeah,
opposed to
yeah,
fearfulness.
yeah. You can say it like that, but what I also want to emphasize, that whoever is going through that kind of transformation, personal, spiritual, or whatever, it's a process. It's
Right.
a process. So even though outside world, sees, wow, she has it all, she has this, but it's not only me. Like, for example, any other person, yeah. But when I'm talking to people, we are still having, our own challenges. Yeah,
Mhm.
we like climbed massive rock. Yeah, we were like a mountain or whatever, and we came on top, and we were like, yeah, like there's this checkpoint. But there are different challenges every time. I
Right.
think it's like it's non-ending journey, but
Not at
the
all.
thing is that I just learned how to enjoy, like you said it. Yeah, it's like we just have to learn how to enjoy it,
Absolutely.
enjoy the
And you don't have
process.
to force yourself into doing something that you
Yeah.
don't feel comfortable with. You mentioned rock climbing. I spent my 30s and up through my mid 40s doing a lot of rock climbing.
Really.
And
Wow.
I just really enjoyed it. I mean, it's just, you can't imagine the feeling on the rock. always protected, no free climbing,
Yeah.
right? Always we're belayed, so that, you know, I had to learn how to fall gracefully, because you know, as soon as you start to go, you want to grab a hold of rock. Well, that's where you rip your fingers up. Um, what happened though is that, you know, I had a buddy that was really good at lead climbing, and he'd just scamper up and, you know, clip in and have everything ready. And one day I thought, okay, I'm going to try it. So we go up this, and it's a fairly easy face, and yet the first anchor is about 60 feet up. And so I'm up there, and I get up to the anchor. I clip the um, carabiner in, and I was pulling the rope up between my legs to clip it into the other carabiner so that we'd have that first anchor. And just as I'm pulling it up and getting ready to clip in, I hope I don't slip.
And you did.
On the S in slip, my right foot let go, and I'm cascading, but I'm sliding down this rock face. And my rock climbing shoes sound like a card in a bicycle tire, right? Just down the rock face. And I'm watching the ground come up, and I'm thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do? And no fear at that point, because there were just things he had to do, right? And I get about 10 feet off the ground, and I push off, and I turn around and I knock my buddy down with my elbow, and I land on my feet, and I tumble, and everything's fine. Nobody got hurt. However, my point is, you don't have to lead climb. If
Yeah.
somebody else is better and more willing, let them do it. You
Yeah.
don't have to go beyond your own limitations or what you
That's true.
know. You know, there's a lot of things you can do just because you don't know you can't, first of all.
And yeah. And also in this process, what I learned is to accept help or to ask for help,
Right.
because that's also super important in this journey. You know, we were also taught, yeah, don't ask for help because that will show your weakness. And I deleted that program from my head.
It
So
actually shows your strength, your
yes,
willingness to ask
yes,
for help. And
yes,
today, this is one of the key features in the industry, is the
yeah,
willingness to ask for help. Everybody tries to do
exactly.
things on your own. You think,
Yeah,
oh, you know, I can't do this on my own. I'm so, and you get frustrated and angry at yourself, and you're beating yourself up, and then before you know it, you're beating everybody else up around you
yeah,
because of that. Instead of saying, hey, you know, this is one of the things that worked for me in the aerospace industry. I'd walk into a new situation and say, hey, you know, I'm new at this. I don't know what I'm doing. Can you help me out?
yeah. Yeah,
That,
in workspace, absolutely, but also in personal life. When you
oh
go
yeah,
through this personal transformation, we are so afraid to ask for help because we are afraid to be rejected or to show our weakness, you know. So it's like, oh my God, I failed, you know. And no, it's not like that. When you have the right people around you, it's a gift. Yeah, it's a gift.
sure.
And
And
we should
sometimes
just
even
accept
when
it.
you know what and how, or how and what to do,
Mm,
it's still good to say, I don't know.
yeah, so
Help me
absolutely.
out. What are
Yeah.
your thoughts? You know, give the other person the opportunity to shine.
I
And
really
then
love
if they,
working with people who say, I don't know, or like talking to people who they like to say, I don't know, because that means, you know, they really, um, yeah, they are really aware, you know, that they don't know everything because
right.
nobody knows everything.
Well, they
So
do
if you
about
are,
themselves. And here is one of the things that I find really interesting that, you know, I don't know. What if you did? What
yeah,
might that be? Right? And it just catches them off guard, first of all. You know, we are tapped into infinite intelligence when we get out of our own way. The answers are there. We just have to ask questions and shut up. Listen. So
yeah,
that gives the opportunity for that to happen, for you to, you know, dive into your own wisdom, your own insight, your experience, and draw upon that, which is what educate means, to draw out.
Wow.
So in doing that, it gives the opportunity for tremendous growth, and a boost in confidence to the other person, right? This is what servant leadership's about.
Yeah.
Empowering others. You don't
Yes.
matter. What matters is how you can empower the others around you to do their job to their best.
We rise by lifting others. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
I wanted to tell you one more thing. If we jump back to rock climbing, I was
Sure.
actually yesterday, I was at the cinema and I was watching this absolutely amazing documentary about rock climbing. So it was resistance climbing. I would really suggest you check it out. It's about it's in Palestinian, yeah, in Palestinian country. So how they are like with rock climbing, how they are battling the system, how they are, like living in the middle of the war, and how they found purpose, like life purpose in rock climbing. And this guy from America, like he came out of nowhere and he started this rock climbing association and movement in the middle of war zone, uh, and it's absolutely incredible. It's like one of the best documentaries that I've seen in my life. Seriously, I
Oh,
was
that's
blown
awesome.
away. Yeah.
I'll look it up, maybe even stick it in the description below if I can find it.
Yeah, I will definitely
And
post
you're
it. Yeah,
right. I mean,
yesterday I was watching, so
that alone, you don't realize just how much of a confidence builder it is. There's team sports, there's individual sports, and the individual sports like rock climbing, and you still have to have a partner if you're doing it, someone to play.
yeah,
However, in the independent sports like golf, those types of things, it's really the development of your own focus.
yeah,
Team sports a little different. Again, what you're doing, quarterback isn't successful because he's a good quarterback. He's successful because the
he's
team
strong.
works
Yeah,
together.
yeah. Also,
Right.
it's all about coherence.
Yep. Absolutely. And that's just a wonderful term.
It is.
The coherence of your heart and the world and those around you. As you've gone through this, was there a piece of advice that you gave yourself on a continual basis to help you continue the progress in the process?
Yeah, I mean, constantly, of course. Oh, I learned how to talk to myself really on a lot of occasions. I could use this skill that I developed. So yeah, definitely. I mean, with human design, like I said, it really gave me a lot of clarity. It really gave me a lot of clarity. And also with my company, I have this slogan. So past experiences do not define you. What defines you is who you are and who you believe you can become. So like past really does not define us. Like it shape us, definitely, is who we are, but it's not definition. So what we did in the past, who we were in the past, that doesn't define us today. We can
Harvest the
always
seeds and
change it.
plant for the future.
We can always change it, always. And you can change it like that. You can change it. It's all about decision. Yeah. And it's really funny. Maybe we can touch also this topic, subconscious patterns, yeah, or like blockets, blocks. It's like sometimes we are aware of them, so they are not subconscious anymore. Yeah. It's really like now, when I'm in this business and when I'm talking to people, I'm empowering people. It's like, yeah, I have this subconscious pattern and it's like this and this and this. So you are talking about it. You are aware of it, so
But it's
it's
not
not
subconscious
subconscious,
anymore.
not subconscious anymore. Exactly. So what I also did with myself, when I started becoming aware of some of my patterns, especially like reactions and stuff like that, I name them. Yeah. So I named them, like, for example, when I was triggered, or like there was anger or frustration or whatever, it was, yeah, it was more Slovenian names, but let's say like John, Rebecca, or like, oh yeah, like
Well, you made them,
Miss Piggy came, like I named
right, so you
them.
make them
So
friends, and in that
yeah,
way you embrace
exactly.
them
Yeah,
rather than reject
exactly.
them.
Exactly. So this is something that I would really suggest whoever is listening, just to name your triggers or patterns or whatever. And when you recognize them, that they are present, you just say, hey, you came back. So what do you want this time? Let's have a beer. Let's, I don't know, watch a Netflix or something. But then I don't need you anymore. Get out. Like, I don't need you anymore. So you are just talking, like, you accept them, but you say like, you know what, you came for a visit, now you can go. And for me, that was very, very, very powerful, because I wasn't resisting anymore.
Mhm.
I wasn't fighting anymore, because like, where your focus goes, energy flows. And when I started living what I was thinking, what I was saying, yeah,
Well,
it became much easier.
Anja, this has just been a phenomenal conversation, and parting is such sweet sorrow. We will meet again soon, I'm sure. Thank you so much for your insight and sharing your wisdom and moments of your life that I'm sure were tender, and your willingness to share those. I really appreciate, and I know our audience will too. They'll see a lot of them in you, I'm sure.
Thanks, Zen. It was pleasure for me as well. And yeah, let's continue with this.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thanks again. And namaste and in la catch. And thanks for sticking with us for this episode of One World in a New World. I'm Zen Benefiel, your host, and I will see you next time.